Hey, hello, Ashton. Could you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, let's wait 30 seconds or so, and we'll start. Okay, guys. Another Tuesday, another EMA session. Happy to see you, everyone online. Um, we have Ashton, project founder, here with us. So, Ashton, let me ask you, how you doing? How is uh, how is your thought about the crypto markets in general, your political situation, and yeah, share community. What's new?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our weekly MA. I didn't hear the last part. I heard what's going on in crypto. Is that what you asked? I think Paul is having issue with the audio. All right, so let's continue. As usual, we will spend maybe 30 to 40 minutes going over some industry insights. And then I'll share with you guys some OpenxAI updates. And then maybe 20, 30 minutes for community questions. All right. Can someone give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me okay?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay, cool. All right. All right. So few industry kind of insights. I've been reading a lot lately. When I say lately, obviously for the last maybe 45 days to maybe 60 days. So there's a bunch of guys who are kind of like working in the AI space as part of my thesis. I'm doing a thesis in MIT, so we also have to like work on a couple of industry uh, insights. So it's very interesting, this kind of focus group, how they see the industry, right? Um, like at the beginning of 2024 or late 2023, everybody thought AI gonna go through like a S curve, um, and you will have a really nice growth projection. Now, in 2026, a lot of experts are kind of predicting AI industry will enter into like a S curve, but also has a kind of extended super cycle. I'm trying to validate that concept and theory, right? Because extended super cycle, uh, it's kind of a beyond the bubble territory for sure. Like lot of things can be justified, like investments and the hype. But at the same time, like if these super cycle analysis are at least somewhat accurate to some degree, there will be a lot of changes, right? So there will be some political, economical, and more also like technological. Because we know, like when it's come to like traditional commodities like gold, silver, they're going on a super cycle, right? Um, like a lot of these things people didn't anticipate. Um, that's why crypto feel like a dead zone, because the net liquidity for crypto is very, very low. Um, like when it's come to US economy and the biggest economy in the world, they ended QT, which is quantitative tightening, in December last year. There have been couple of liquidity injection by the Fed, but most of the liquidity, if you look at like the net liquidity flowing into crypto, is being extremely low, and everything pretty much going into commodities and AI equities. So this has been the case for quite some time now. So it's very interesting to see, and there are certainly obviously some manipulation happening. But what I'm really interested in the AI industry, like not the hype, but what is actually going on, and where the relevancy come in about 2 years and 3 years. If there are, like, let's say, infrastructure super cycles going on, which there's so much evidence to prove that even if it's not an extended super cycle, but there are things that happening that we cannot ignore, right? That's what I'm really excited, because I always say infrastructure is boring. OpenxAI is the infrastructure project, right? But if there are some really good infrastructure growth happening, that's good for us, right? Compared to NVIDIA, large infrastructure provider, we are like a tiny cockroach. But if the industry is booming, it's good for us, right? So that's good thing. But relative to the crypto, I think that's the question that Paul has asked. The way, obviously, I'm not an expert when it's come to liquidity and the global liquidity cycles. But in general, what you see is a massive kind of a relocation of global liquidity. It's kind of like sucking the air out of a room. They're sucking a lot of liquidity from crypto. So that's why you see a lot of outflow of ETFs. ETFs outflow drives a lot of price that impacts the spot price. If Bitcoin and major cryptocurrencies like Ethereum and Solana, if it's running out of liquidity, then it impacts the whole ecosystem. I mean, let's see what's going to happen in May. I think May 26th, the new Fed is coming. Let's see what's happened. There certainly will be some excitement. Before that, it probably would be like the sell the news kind of a situation, maybe with the new Fed. But for when it comes to AI, I think there are a few things is happening. Like one interesting advances. Basically, this is coming from NVIDIA, by the way. They're doing a radical hardware architecture change in 2026. So the new hardware is being developed by NVIDIA now. They can handle trillion parameters model. So we're not talking about like billion parameter models. Most of AI chatbots are billion parameter, right? So the difference between trillion parameter versus billion parameters, that's a different level. So we're talking about people don't understand the difference. If you take like a normal brain, like the difference between a monkey brain and a human brain. In human brain, you have about 100 trillion pattern recognition capabilities. That's why we are human, right? We can recognize danger. We can look at a bunch of group of people having fun. We can say at distance, we can actually guess what's happening. These are very advanced computation capabilities in our brain. So right now, if you look at traditional language model, large language models, they are running on billion parameters. But what's happening 2026, NVIDIA is focusing on trillion parameter models, like the hardware, building hardware to handle trillion parameter models. So it's scary one way, because we are not looking at like, if you guys feel ChatGPT is kind of intelligent, so it's running on a monkey brain right now. Yeah, that's the reality. The monkey brain is the hardware, which is NVIDIA chips. But if NVIDIA try to upgrade the whole brain or the hardware to trillion parameters, then you can guess what's going to happen, right? So this is happening this year. Like when I first heard about AI industry, like probably 10, 15 years ago, like we never thought we will be much, much closer to like AGI. Like we thought 2040, 2050 will be like AGI, but it seems it's very, very close. So it's concerning in one way because the concentration is heavy, right? So there's only a few corporations basically control the whole thing. If they stuff it up, which usually they do, then it's not going to be like 2008 financial crisis. You know, this time is different. Uh, this time really going to be different because it's not a bunch of bankers having bad securities and it collapsed the market. We're talking about like an intelligent being, possibly more intelligent than us, controlled by a few corporation, and we have to trust they're going to do the right thing, right? So yeah, there's a bit of a scary there. I think regulations or any other sandboxes that everybody's thinking, it's probably not going to work. Because if there are advanced and intelligent beings that can think more than humans, then I mean, whatever solutions that we are thinking of containing it, they probably can think even further, right? So they can outsmart us. So the architecture that NVIDIA is building now is inventing a human top 2.0 that can outsmart humans, right? So that's the hardware. Um, and also I see, of course, like I can understand why NVIDIA is doing it because NVIDIA want to capitalize as much they can, right? Because the selling this hardware is their main business. And being the most valuable company in the world, now the shareholders and Wall Street is looking what's next. Of course, they need to ship more, right? So that's where they're going. But reality, I think you need a lot of time to catch up in terms of like software. Like the ChatGPT, the actual proprietary version that they built, they spent like couple of like at least maybe 90 to 110 billion dollars in R&D. So even if you have a big brain, it will be difficult to actually launch maybe 100 times better ChatGPT in 1 year. I mean, who knows? Maybe they're already building it, right? We don't know. Um, but the challenge, like when you have these kind of like really crazy chips is being introduced to the market, and everything that they introduced maybe 6 months ago or 1 year ago look like baby toys, then how does it work in terms of sustainability, right? So if companies or government spending billions, if not trillions of dollars building infrastructure, and inside the infrastructure, the NVIDIA chips or the hardware, if the hardware shelf life, it's getting kind of like milk or like meat, it's expired soon, then where's the sustainability part comes in, right? I think there will be some realization of this like crazy amount of like spending money on hardware. Probably this will gonna end soon. This is my guess. Because it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Because companies cannot afford, like businesses cannot afford to rip and replace their entire data center every year or every 2 years, right? It make no sense. Um, of course, that doesn't impact OpenxAI, right? Because we don't have our data centers. We don't own data centers. We don't build data centers. We basically tap into existing data centers. So if a data center is going to replace their hardware, that's good for us because we will get the latest hardware. So it's kind of like an Airbnb kind of a type of a solution. So we don't own the data center. We basically rent out the data center, which is good. But overall, I think the industry, there are things that's not cool when it's come to sustainability, which probably will get some major maybe catalysts will might happen. But again, 2026 economy is healthy, so we don't know exactly what's going to happen. But overall, I think the sustainability part need to be addressed. Um, and I think another interesting part, what I found, this is this is very true for large institutions. Um, the large institutions now, they're treating AI kind of like a permanent utility for their portfolio. When I say portfolio, to their company. So, for example, so let's say if you're opening up a pizza shop, your primary utility, like a permanent utility of your pizza shop, is running water, right? So you always consider running water or electricity is like a permanent utility for your shop. So what we are seeing now, large institutions, they prioritizing AI infrastructure as a permanent utility for their corporations. So it's no longer like experimental things that they used to do, right? And that's true because if you think about the cloud computing and the cloud services, companies they did a little bit experiments with the cloud and using like software as a service, like SaaS services, cloud SaaS services. But if you look at 2025, 2026, pretty much most of small businesses and large corporations, most of their stuff is in cloud, not in a it used to be like you have a servers in your building, right? But what we are seeing now, large institutions, they want to keep their permanent AI infrastructure, but at the same time, they don't have real estate, right? So they cannot just rent out, a couple of thousand square meters data centers on their backyard, right? So they don't want to do that. So what are they looking for? They're looking for having some sort of a buying a permanent. When I say permanent, let's say long-term contracts with utility with the infrastructure and providers, infrastructure providers, as a utility for long term. So the cool thing about OpenxAI infrastructure, people can basically rent infrastructure for a second or a long term for like 5 years if they want to, right? So the flexibility would be good, and being able to um, deploy something and rent out something at scale, and you can basically do that at a very highly scalable manner. That would be very, very interesting. Okay, so these are sort of industry insights. So let me share with you guys what we are doing at OpenxAI. So the main goals right now, the main priority is V10. So those who are not familiar with the V10, so V10 is our own platform. If you go to our website, if you click on the studio on the right-hand side, so that's our current platform. So current platform is sucks, to be honest. It has a really cool features, like you can pick any open source models in our app store, in our marketplace, and you can just choose like an choose a GPU, and you can just deploy it. So the version that you see currently live on our website, it took probably 2 to 3 years to build the infrastructure, but the actual studio itself, uh, it doesn't offer a lot of capabilities. So that's why we call it the next version. Instead of calling, because current version is 4.5, instead of calling 4.6 or version 5, we're calling version 10 because that's a huge jump in terms of capabilities, in terms of functionalities. Because V10 to me, if you guys are familiar with Hugging Face, so it's kind of like a Hugging Face, but it's built completely in Web3 technologies, which means if you have access to V10, you could be sitting in Nairobi, you'd be sitting in, let's say, Sydney, Australia. You can launch your AI agents, AI services, or AI apps in a matter of minutes. And traditionally, you'll need to have credit cards, banking systems like traditional railways. We basically remove all of that, so you can launch your AI company or AI services instead of trying to integrate like traditional banking systems. We allow people to integrate with smart contracts and Web3 technologies. very specifically like Web3 wallets, so you don't need to have a bank account. Instead of registering for a company to protect your intellectual properties, we introduce a new concept called smart contract wrappers. So you can wrap your entire server in a smart contract and attach to your wallet. So the only person who can actually access the content inside is going to be you. So V10 has the building capabilities. V10 also has a marketplace. So marketplace, if you guys familiar with OpenSea, OpenSea is a marketplace for NFTs. Consider like OpenSea, but for AI apps and AI agents and AI services. So people can freely come, they can buy, they can rent, they can bid, they can basically buy and sell AI apps and AI services. So V10 for us is the iPhone moment, not just for OpenxAI, for AI and Web3 industry, because the platform is like what we are building right now is really sexy. It basically fundamentally changed how people build and deploy and consume AI applications and agents. That's a very, very different way of doing things. And a lot of the tech and capabilities don't even exist in the industry today. So it is a really, really cool thing. So what we're doing now, of course, we are focusing on that now. We're looking at the infrastructure. We're looking at the smart contract compilers, the backend, the containerization, the workload management, the backend, the marketplace, and how this platform going to work with the different wallets, integration of wallets, and how do we protect from any attacks, because obviously it have to be secure, right? And it has to be very lightweight, because we cannot deliver something buggy. So a lot of development work we are focusing on at the moment. So while the engineering team is focusing on the V10 core and the rest of the components, our operation team and marketing team, they are coordinating with a venue in Dubai or Abu Dhabi to do the actual launch. So the launch will be a in-person event with a large screen behind. So our team members will be flying in to Dubai in the UAE. We will be hosting this event. It's going to be a product features, talking about the V10 features, the capabilities, use cases, the utility. And right after the keynote presentation is ended, so it's going to be probably 40 minutes altogether, segmented event. Right after the event, we are running a campaign. The campaign, obviously, we don't have a name for the campaign. We used to call it Circle before, but the idea here is to get around 100,000, like a really diehard fans. So let's call it like a V10 Marines. We want to get 100,000 users for V10. So right after the keynote, we will allow people to secure their position or their spot. There will be a limited spot for you to sign up. Once you verify your wallet and confirm your wallet and all the basic things is needed, and then there will be some rewards, and we are integrating a lot of like proof of work types of solutions into V10. So while you're waiting for the V10, the actual V10 launch, because there will be a gap. So we introduced the keynote first. The keynote is basically showcasing what is the product going to do and what does product look like. The actual V10 will be 30 days or 45 days later, after doing lots of beta testing to make sure everything is good. So the same way, if you consider like Tesla is, doing Cybertruck, they showcase the Cybertruck, but you cannot buy the Cybertruck straight away. The Cybertruck, there will be pre-orders. So we're applying the same kind of principle here. and also the learnings that we learned from our Base Mini App Factory campaign that we did last year. That campaign was successful. So, but that experiment, it was small. We want to replicate into a larger audience. Our goal is million or two maybe, but we need minimum 100,000 users. So how do we get million or two users? So we're tapping into some of existing partners who kind of help to onboard large number of users to gaming and AI industry. So I'll give you a good example. One of the company we're talking to now is called YGG. So those guys help to onboard, I think, couple of million users in Philippines for Axie Infinity, right? So Axie Infinity was a play to earn game launched in 2020, and it became very popular during the last cycle. So we are discussing with a couple of partners who actually did large scale campaigns. We are negotiating with commercial terms. Our target is to focus on Philippines, Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Australia. And then from the other side, we will be focusing on South America to begin with. So there will be few partners can help us to distribute the campaign and onboarding these users. Best case scenarios, it will be in millions, but the bare minimum will be 100,000. So those campaigns will be running. Now we have a full-time dedicated team. So we onboarded a few people recently. Our product and marketing executives, we have onboarded Maria and Guru. And we also have Jonathan from US. So these guys will be helping us to execute and coordinate. So there will be, when it's come to specific US-based user acquisition, it will be small scale because user acquisition in the US is quite expensive, to be honest. But we will be working with the two partners called Flow and EBQ. These guys will be helping us to acquire some users, but we will keep it small scale. Majority will come from Asia and South America. So that's the main goal, is to get the V10 Marine, because when the platform is launched, we want like a really good, excited community is ready to receive the platform. It's like, imagine Taylor Swift is going to a concert, but nobody's turning up, right? So that's what we want to avoid, because V10, obviously nobody heard about V10, right? If you go product strategy, launch strategy as a launch your product and onboard users slowly, that's not going to work. So we will be going quite aggressive on user acquisition, and then just release the version 10 few capabilities, and we'll be running lots of campaigns right after the launch. So there will be leaderboards, there will be specific referral programs. Those who are joining during this period, during, let's say, during the keynote and the actual launch of the platform, people will be able to do certain courses to learn about the platform. There will be like a progress bar. The more you do, the more rewards you earn. You'll be able to get some more rewards, and all the rewards will be locked, by the way. So you cannot you cannot redeem the rewards. So that's kind of a hook for people to stick with the platform until the launch day. So these are the things we are working on right now. It's a lot of efforts that we need to prioritize. Last meeting or the last AMA, I did mention how OpenxAI kind of a planning long term. So there are 3 layers for OpenxAI. First layer is the V10. That's pretty much the product or the platform. And then the second layer, if you think about OpenxAI like a sandwich, the first layer of the sandwich is the V10. So the V10 has a marketplace and a builder's capabilities. So even a non-technical person can build an app or agent. deploy an agent. And then the second layer, it will be something like a Uniswap. There's a trading layer for traders to speculate and trade um, on GPUs and RAM. So we will have tokenized RAM and tokenized GPU. We might consider one or two to introduce just to see how it goes. If the markets are good, let's say April, May, we can introduce more products because there will be some leverage products as well, which means if you want to go long or short in GPU, if you think GPU price going to go high or low, you can go short or long with 5x, 10x leverage. All of this will be executed in Orca and Jupyter infrastructure in Solana ecosystem. So that will come after V10. So then right after that, the staking capabilities will be introduced. So this is one of the reasons that I say a lot to people, like everyone just kind of DMing me and asking where's the utility for token. Of course, the utility for token will not be ready until these components are ready, right? So there are things that needed to make the economic flywheel works. Otherwise, it's other than speculation. There's no other utility for OpenxAI token, right? So infrastructure projects and getting some initial traction takes time. If we didn't have this October 10th huge crash and the terrible crypto sentiment, we would have done a lot of work. But regardless, we don't want to delay no more with V10. So the time that we had between October and January is given us a lot of room to actually improve the V10 and work with our partners, especially Solana Foundation and some of our other partners. So that's really good, right? So the goal here is to launch V10 as soon as possible, but we're trying to coordinate as much we can because there's engineering work and there's operation and marketing work and then the user acquisition work. So there's so many things need to be coordinated. So other than that, that's our primary goal at the moment. There are a few other updates. We are working with, this is the proof of concept. I cannot share too much. In some of the regions in the world, they're very heavy in terms of like RWA narrative. So we are looking at creating a proof of concept. If you think about like a tokenized GPU, tokenized GPU is just a one device, like a GPU as in a one server. But imagine like a tokenizing a data center. So we're experimenting a proof of concept on a certain region, which running a pilot program as a well-known city and a well-known government. If that turn into be something, let's say, something cool and something exciting, so this will be a proof of concept that data centers, they don't have to rely on their like primary revenue, because primary revenue for a data center is basically to have enough usage or customers. If data centers are sitting and no customers, nobody utilizing the GPUs, I mean, what are they going to do? But if you offer these data centers some way for people to basically earn yield, which means the data centers can have extra revenue on top, right? So it's a no-brainer for data centers to consider technologies like RWA innovations, so they can convert traditional GPUs into tokenized GPU, so people can speculate and trade on it. The same way how Amazon they used to sell books, because books used to be boring and stuck in one place. And in order to utilize the book, you have to walk into the library and pick up a book and read. But then Amazon basically digitalized the whole book, and the books books now can travel around the world in a lightning speed. So the books became more digitalized, and the utility become different. So we're experimenting, but again, it's very early stage, guys. I mean, don't have so much hype on this, please. We don't even know if this is gonna work, right? These are interesting conversation I had in this city, in this particular city, and some of the government officials. Um, but there are a lot of challenges. But if we can do it, it will be cool, right? So we are doing some experiments there just to see the viability and how much efforts that we needed. And if there are some good things are coming, we're trying to onboard like a one individual who speak their language and be closer to that government. Then that person will look after whole initiative. Then we don't we all we have to do is just engineering work. That person will look after BD slash collaboration work. But if that turn out to be good, so that's something good to showcase. The tokenized GPU capability is expanded beyond a GPU. It's expanded into a data center, right? Yeah. So these are the updates so far. Happy to answer any questions from the community.
Ashton, one question from my end. So, as I understand, V10 will be the platform which will allow the people without any coding skills um, to produce some nice applications. Could you elaborate how one could actually using the new V10 will build their own AI business?
All right. So you set some expectation. There's no magic technology exists where you can just type, hey, build me a trading bot that generate 20% return and build a smart contract to connect with the DEXs and Binance and just build it for me, right? So we are not there yet. When I say we, I'm going to talk about OpenxAI. I'm talking about the world. Um, so even the best compilers and the best, like even the $1 billion uh, like private companies like Lovable, Base 44, when it's come to app development, it's quite hard because replacing a complete development team by an agent or AI sort of a framework is not that simple. Um, so there are a lot of templates. Like if you look at Base 44, I really enjoy Base 44 solutions. So you can go to Base 44 and you can just say, hey, I want to build an e-commerce website which has a shopping cart and build me XYZ. If you type it up, it will build the entire website, e-commerce website, the backend, the databases, everything for you, which is really cool. Um, and if you don't like the whole design and the backend, you can change by typing. But there are limitations for those kind of services. So Sam, our head of engineering, he's gonna kill me when I say this. Like ideally, I want like a vibe coders, right? What I mean vibe coders, like majority of entrepreneurs are non-coders. Like it's 89% last time I checked. In the world, the people who are running businesses or wanted to start a startup, they are non-technical people. So we cannot ignore the large audience. But at the same time, we have to understand the limitations. What we don't want be in a position where we promise the moon and sky and people just try to experiment the technology and it looks really bad, right? So the way we address this, we will go step by step. So you can come into V10. So there will be a chatbot kind of a box. You can type what you want to build, whether you want to build an AI agent or you want to build like your own chatbot. So I'll give you an example. So you want to build let's say a chatbot that you're going to build it and that chatbot going to pull data, real-time data from Twitter, and it's going to scan crypto related news, and it's going to update the database constantly. And then your end customers or your end users, when they go to your chatbot, they can ask very specific questions about crypto, and then you can train this model to understand crypto, let's say crypto terminologies and things that happening in real time, and fine tune the model. So then your end users can interact with this chatbot. You can also design the front end, what does it look like? You can have like pretty pictures, instead of having a boring black color interface like ChatGPT. You can redesign your front end, what does it look like, the buttons, all of that by simply chatting, right? So those capabilities can be done. So building a chatbot with like different front end design and being able to train, being able to connect with some APIs like public APIs, will be able to give those capabilities. What you cannot do, like write a smart contract. Like if you type in, say, okay, build me a trading bot that can do like a cross-chain settlements or cross-chain trading capabilities, then go and hook up directly with Uniswap, and then the other end hook up with Binance and just build the whole thing for you. Those things may not be available. We are experimenting some things, like especially smart contract compilers, but we have to be very careful with those kind of things, because if we offer some expectation for people, if they build these apps, and if there are significant vulnerabilities, which there will be significant vulnerabilities and security bugs, and they're going to lose a lot of money, right? Because it's to do with the DeFi elements. So we have to be careful, but we will launch in different stages.
All right. Thanks for broad explanation, Ashton. Uh, Chris, I
May
see
I say
you
something?
requested the mic.
May I say
Yeah.
one thing?
Yes,
Sorry,
sure.
I will say one thing. What is V10 is offer, which is very interesting. So when you build your app, like think about you're building an e-commerce website, or you're building another chatbot. V10, what V10 will allow you to do, you can go to your app, click on your app, and go to the setting of the app. Then you can just copy paste your wallet in the app, right? So that will act as your bank account or your wallet of the app. So if you're building, let's say, e-commerce website, and when users are paying for your buying services from your website, all the payments has to go somewhere, right? So the payments, you can add your wallets, right? And in terms of charging from customers, like micropayments, because credit cards providers like Visa, MasterCard, even like latest, things like Stripe, they don't facilitate like micropayments. You cannot pay like $0.001 sometimes, right? Some providers accept, but most providers don't. But when it's come to like um, L2 infrastructure like Base, even Solana as a chain, you can the micropayments are viable, right? So it's not it's viable for you to pay, because the gas fees are extremely low. So what we have with V10 on your back of your application, you can configure how do you get paid. And instead of integrating credit card payment systems and traditional things that you need in order for you to monetize your services today, because today, if you're building an AI application or building an e-commerce website or building pretty much anything, when it's come to monetization, the only way for you to monetize is to hook up with a credit card payment system provider, right? Then you have to create a merchant account with a credit card payment provider, and if you're a business, you need to have a corporate bank account, and in order to get your corporate bank account, you need to have a company, So in order to go from 0 to 1, in your idea, in your business, you need to have a bank account, corporate setup, everything needs to be done. What we have with V10, we remove all of that because we consider bank accounts, setting up a company, all of this is old school. New innovation will be completely using smart contracts and using decentralized networks. So your IP is protected and wrapped in a smart contract, which get the exact same security from Ethereum network because Base is built on Ethereum, running on Ethereum um, network infrastructure. So when you deploy your payments, your intellectual property protection, you're getting the exact security as Ethereum. And your wallet, your admin wallet, is your um, entire access to your AI services, your payments. So if you have a master key, same way how you host or how you manage your custody for your crypto, it's going to be the same thing. So if you have a ledger like Nano Ledger, if this is your master key, or sorry, is your master wallet, and you can hook up the master wallet to unlock your wallet infrastructure, unlock your business logic that you build on smart contracts, all of that can be managed through V10, which means when it's come to monetization and building like business logic, instead of using traditional old systems, we are allowing people to migrate all of that into Web3. So on the back end, it's not complicated. There are like simple field, like a think about you filling a form. You copy paste your wallet. It will ask you, okay, what's your primary bank account or your primary wallet that you want to receive your customers or receive your revenue from your end customers. You copy paste your wallet. You verify your wallet, and it will also ask you, you want to secure your server with a smart contract. If you say yes, it's going to deploy a smart contract wrapper on your on your server. So everything that goes inside the server, it stays inside the server. The only person who can see inside what goes inside is going to be you. So that's why the idea of like private AI sovereignty, sovereign AI infrastructure and private AI infrastructure is going to be like a design principle of V10. So yeah, I just want to cover that part because that's a huge innovation and a big breakthrough. Being able to being able to click a couple of buttons on the back end, sorry, in the V10 front end under the user build section. When you click build the compilers and execute, it runs the smart contract for you, and it's going to deploy that smart contract for you and attach that smart contract with your server, connect with your wallet, and manage your entire infrastructure under one roof. So that's why OpenxAI V10 offers the full stack from compute for infrastructure, software, smart contracts layer, management, payments, on-chain SaaS. We call it on-chain SaaS, on-chain software as a service, all in one box.
Right. I see Chris and Ryan, you guys asked for the mic. I see Chris, you're a speaker, so you are good to go with your question.
Perfect. Hey, how's it going, Ashton? Great to hear from you. You brought something up earlier that I had a question about. So when you were talking about cross-chain with tokenized GPUs, for example, Solana, how will the liquidity be provided for this?
Good question. So we're going to rely on Jupyter, Orca, and some of the liquidity providers. So the liquidity will not be bootstrapped. So it will be working with existing partners. And we're trying to get on board few liquidity aggregators like Eel Network. They can help us to aggregate some liquidity, but it's all come down to like a proper launch, right? So liquidity is extremely fragmented at the moment. That's why we need to have the V10 and having enough users, having some enough traction. If crypto market overall is good, the liquidity will be good with Solana ecosystem. But compared to most of DEXs, Solana seems to be doing fine, but liquidity will come from Solana, existing DEXs and infrastructure.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. I think Ryan wants to speak, so I'll jump down to the mic now.
Ryan, you are good to go.
Okay, so hello, Aston. We all know that in OpenxAI, any builder can build their businesses within a few minutes. So my question is exactly that: does OpenxAI have any mechanism to avoid the exploitation of your platform by the unethical people? Do we have that?
Hmm. Um, People can, I mean, if bad actors can hijack the front end, right? So they can hijack our domain. There are risks, of course. But the infrastructure is decentralized. So the entire cloud network, I mean, cloud network, we call it open mesh. So we built that for almost 4 to 5 years now. So that infrastructure is solid. That's decentralized infrastructure. We spend like more than $8 to $9 million on R&D on that. So we haven't had any problem. But of course, there are vulnerabilities, right? Even in infrastructure level. But for the V10, V10 will be like the hosting of the V10 for people to interact will be at first will be centralized, which means it will be hosted by OpenxAI, let's say the team. So team will host that. The team will have access. Team will have not for, of course, not for personal, like individual stuff, but I'm talking about the platform itself because we need to maintain. But ideally, what we want in the future, like we are working on something called Open Mesh Cloud. So Open Mesh Cloud will be decentralized cloud, like a proper cloud. So the idea here is to migrate the V10 platform and domain names, because domain names like currently openxai.org is registered under GoDaddy, right? But the idea here, if you have a decentralized cloud and having that layer is secured, we can have a domain name and CDN or a content delivery network, um, and the actual domains inside the cloud, which means you have a decentralized cloud network. The front end and the URLs of the main URL for the V10 is decentralized, so it's not centralized. That will be probably towards the end of the year, but there are risks for sure. To answer your question.
Yeah, thanks for your answer. Thanks for the clarification.
Okay,
Just
guys. So if you have sorry,
what
Ashton,
maybe
if you guys wanna ask a question for Ashton, so you know the drill. You request a mic, I approve, and you live on the stage. Unmute your mic, and you could do that. Back to you, Ashton.
Ryan, just maybe your question is to do with your own business. So if you launch your own company or your own AI service or AI agent, that you are monetizing it, and the question probably you're asking, what is the security for that? If a platform goes offline, is your app also going to go offline? That's not the case here, because you are technically, your apps will be hosted on open mesh infrastructure. That's the hosting provider, like the cloud provider. But most of your business logic, your payments, everything will be on smart contracts, which means smart contracts will be deployed on base network. Unless base gonna go down or gonna go probably hacked, your money, your business logic, your IP, everything will be secured.
All right, guys. Don't see any more requests. Just for using the moment. If you don't join our Discord and Telegram, so you're of course invited to do that. You could find the links in the comment section of this EMA session. So it's already posted. You could double check. And there is a last minute for you guys to ask a question. Otherwise, we will wrap up the session. All right. Okay, I see one request. Some. Mic approved. So jump in when you're ready.
Good everybody. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, we could hear you.
Okay. Austin, thank you very much for that beautiful insight. When you actually started, you started talking about NVIDIA trying to increase model parameters from billions to, okay, I think from billions, billion to trillion parameters, right? If I can get you right on that, Austin.
Yeah. The
Hello.
hardware,
Okay.
NVIDIA chips that
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
building
the
is
hardware.
to be able to run that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so if they're not trying to increase these parameters to that, and they have their own purpose, they're trying to do that so that they can have like more partnership because there are maybe some group of people really focused on getting these tools for whatever reason they want to use it for, maybe for their self-interest reasons and all that. Does that not actually kind of defeats the purpose of what OpenxAI is trying to do, because OpenxAI is trying to like make AI decentralized for everybody, and NVIDIA are now trying to increase these tools and maybe selling out to those corporate bodies. It kind of actually confines such technology to some part of people's a single group of people that can actually use it for their selfish purpose on all that. So what's like the way forward? How do we come into this scenario in making such, or maybe in kind of like using those tools and making it decentralized for the community and advantageous for everybody as a whole?
All right. The reality, of course, like being able to like compete or at least like go against these types of giants, it will be almost impossible. Because the reason why like they're doing it, because AI kind of a new weapon, right? Yeah, it's more political. AI is no longer like a technology anymore. It's a political thing. I don't know if you heard some of my keynotes. Like I consider AI kind of like the Ark of the Covenant, the modern version of Ark of the Covenant. Whoever has the Ark of the Covenant is powerful, right? It shows the power. It shows the. It's like you have the nuclear weapon, right? If you want to work with advanced beings, imagine like in cartoons and maybe um, like sci-fi, any civilization can work with more advanced civilization. Like take like Star Trek, right? So Star Trek, they've got different kinds of civilizations. So type 1, type 0, type 1, type 2, type 3 civilization. So whoever has alliance with a higher dimension or higher intelligence, they have a more they have more power. They have more power to negotiate, they have more power to control, they have more power to basically be in that powerful position. This is how it is, right? So it's not just political. Sometimes it's also how the universe work, right? So these rules apply to biology as well. So whoever has the highest um, biological capabilities survive. So you can call it survival mechanism. You could call it more, uh, you know, don't mess with us. We have the nuclear, right? Therefore, we have to win this race. So that's probably why they're doing it. That's why U.S. government and China, and I don't think any other region is competing with the US, but US, China, they are in a race, right? Who to prove who's bigger and better. And these races is kind of like the same race that we've seen nuclear, building the most capable nuclear weapons, the long distance nuclear weapons, or maybe sending a rockets to the moon, or anything that we find like more disruptive. The countries want to own that, right? So the countries going to be pushing hard, and that's exactly what's happening with the AI industry right now. Having someone like Trump as a president, he's going to push even further, right? Because he's America first. So those kind of innovation, these kind of like mega, what's the word I'm looking for? Let's say the mega push towards to like AGI, or towards to like the superior AI capabilities. There's no way to slow it down. There might be, let's say, even if you have a couple of billions of people, tomorrow go to street and say, we don't need this, we don't want this, we hate this, we this is bad for us in the future, whatever it is, it's not gonna stop, right? So like what we are doing in a very, very tiny scale is, instead of having all these centralized AI capabilities stuck in small silos, we're giving this capabilities for anybody to have access to, right? Anything open source that you can have access to. So we are trying to democratizing the AI access, right? And giving infrastructure and capabilities for you to be in the AI space, be in the Web3 space, to basically accelerate your productivity, your career. The entire V10 is a different tool that don't exist now, and that's why I'm calling it like a new computer or a new Mac or a new iPhone. So we're giving those capabilities to end users. But overall, like addressing the centralization problem, it's gonna get harder and harder every time the industry is getting hotter and hotter, right? So you have acceleration of this industry, and the concentration going to get bigger. I don't know if I answer your question, but overall, I mean, we are doomed. If you want to summarize, we're screwed. Because as an
Some if
individual,
you
we
some
cannot
if
do
you have
anything.
follow-up questions, so you could do that. Otherwise, there is one more question, Ashton. Hopefully, Sami, you are happy. If not, you could follow up later on. So one question dropped by Gishart. He's live with us as well, but
Yeah, thank you very much for that beautiful insights.
all right, cool. So Gishart couldn't speak at the moment, but his question is about is it any news about the Cayman Island Foundation?
Yeah, so that they're working. There are a few things they sent us back. We just responded because there are a few moving parts, right? So the foundation is just for the OpenxAI Foundation that manage OpenxAI Lab. But when it's come to tokenized GPU, since we are going to focus prioritizing US and EU market a lot, therefore we have to make sure we are not crossing any CFTC, SEC regulations, and any security laws. Even though current administration is quite pro, what we don't want to be in a position where we do all of this based on the current administration, and then a few years later we will have we will have problems after Trump leaves the office, and then another party comes and then they change the rules, and then they basically gonna go after us, right? So we want to think long term. That's why we are setting in BBI and Panama for the deployments of TGPUs. So that way it's basically protected and also compliant at the same time. So the foundation, like when people ask what's happening to the foundation, it's not just a foundation, right? It has a lot of vehicles built on top or around it to be able to launch tokenized GPUs, tokenized assets. Because when you have a front end that refer people to buy and sell tokenized assets and GPUs, kind of like a financial, you need to have a financial license in order to offer those things, right? So we're trying to be as much like good as possible when it comes to regulators, because our market is US, right? So we're going back and forth with them. So the skeleton, the basic skeleton is the foundation, of course. So that's happening. But the foundation is not just a foundation, it's a vehicle, right? So it needs an engine, it needs tires, it needs everything to run it. So there are a few other things they need to sort it. So yeah, so we are on track for things that they said. But again, there are new things we discovered for specifically like Singapore and common law, English law, according to like common law, Canada, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. So according to those regulation frameworks, we have to provide certain disclaimers. Those disclaimers have to be attached to the user profiles. But the problem is we don't have user profiles. We don't have KYC. So how do we address that problem, right? So we're trying to figure out what's the best way to do it. And US stuff is easy, to be honest. Like it's easy to manage because there are existing established really nice frameworks exist for us to execute these kind of things. But when it's come to EU, Europe is quite hard, to be honest. So we might skip Europe in this case. So which means if you're trying to deploy certain things like tokenized GPUs, the European people may not have access. But again, like we will try to do what we can. When we have our decentralized, when the applications are hosted on a decentralized cloud, then of course we are not bound by any regulations or any governments. So therefore, the application can freely live in that network. It's like, think about like a torrent network. So if you have a website that hosted on a torrent network, which doesn't have a single owner, and then there's no single centralized authority, so it can live and breathe anytime from anywhere. So we'll get there eventually, but at the moment, regulation, we cannot ignore regulations because our ultimate goal is to focus on the US market, which is the biggest market for us.
All right, thank you, Ashton, for the answer. I couldn't see any requests. Yeah, I see 60 more listeners here in the session. So for you guys, if you are not in our community servers, join up. We have plenty of action there. We're doing games. We're doing quizzes. We growing together as community, not just having fun, but as well learning and growing together. So with that, Ashton, just give you the final remarks, and we will finish the session.
Maybe I would ask, like maybe talk to our ambassadors about this. I'd like to maybe speak to some of our community members to showcase our V10. Like the V10, a lot of V10 work is being done so far. In terms of the front end, like you guys can see what does V10 look like. So what I like to do, like to showcase what is the V10 capabilities and get feedback from you guys. It could be maybe 10 people, 15 people. We can jump on a call and I can show you, how to deploy your first app and how to tokenize your apps, how to build your agents, and I can show the platform. And if we can have some constructive feedback about the whole experience, that would be really helpful for us to improve and fix some of the bugs. So if it's possible to coordinate something like that, would be good.
Yeah, sure, Ashton. We will release the kind of registration form in our servers, and we will collect those people who want to participate, and then we could organize this for sure.
Awesome. That would be great.
Okay, guys. So if there is nothing else, thanks for joining in. It was a great session again. And yeah, let's meet each other next week on Tuesday, same time, same place. Enjoy your evening and bye-bye.
Have a good week, guys. Thank you.